Welcome everyone to our talk story today. My name is José Barzola. I'm the Conflict and Peace Specialist here at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Um, Today's talk story is brought to you in collaboration between the Matsunaga Institute for Peace and myself, the Conflict and Peace Specialist. Today's talk is on Global Hibakusha, Security and Peace for All Humanity with Yumi Saito and moderated by myself. Today's event will be Yumi will be sharing, or Ms. Saito will be sharing about her experience participating in the Perspectives of World War II from Hawaii to Nagasaki to Hiroshima program. As next year marks 80th anniversary since the atomic bombing detonated, she focuses today's talk not only on recapping her experience of the program, but also focusing on the global hibakusha, the victims of atomic bomb radiation testing around the world, and the global efforts for the abolishment of nuclear weapons and disarmament. She also explores ways to move forward and strengthen peace-building initiatives further. Our speaker today, Yumi Saito, is pursuing a graduate certificate in conflict resolution and a Ph.D. in educational foundations right here at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. She's a graduate research assistant for the Provost Office and teaches multicultural education as a lecturer at the College of Education. She has worked in the private sector with international organizations and educational institutions in Africa, Europe, and the US. She's currently involved in multiple projects, including the abolition of nuclear weapons and disarmament to enhance the culture of peace through learning and open-hearted dialogue in local, national, and global communities. Additionally, just to give you a little background, so today's specific, so about what is the perspectives from World War II from Hawaii to Nagasaki, Hiroshima. I'll give you a little background about that. It is an experiential program that provides the opportunity for students to develop cross-cultural understanding between the multiple perspectives of World War II. It's something that was developed as part of my own experience having moved here to Hawaii and just connecting with different folks, not only here in Hawaii, but also in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And it was an opportunity to kind of bring students on board to to share those experiences so they too can see those lived experiences and hear the stories. So during this program, students go on a journey to visit important locations related to the war, both here on Oahu and as well as in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and have dialogue with folks as a means of learning from the lived experience, to learn about the atrocities that occurred during the war, to be inspired by stories of resilience from those that survived, as well as those that carry on the messages for peace. So this immersive program is meant to educate students to learn from past generations, to hopefully not repeat the tragic part of history. But without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our speaker today, Yumi Saito. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jose. Can you hear me? Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining today's talk. I see familiar faces and I'm so happy. Thank you so much for joining. And first of all, I would like to show my sincere appreciation to Jose and also Professor Maya, who is my practicum supervisor. And without you, like it was difficult to going to Japan, like travel to Japan to learn about these learn about the history of World War II. So thank you so much. And I will share my screen. Yes. So first, I would like to ask you in this room to channel your imaginative empathy that reaches beyond your immediate surroundings. Try understanding different cultures with respect. The slides would contain 1 or 2 graphic images of atomic bomb survivors. So I just wanted to let you know beforehand. As Jose kindly introduced and mentioned about the program, the purpose of this practicum is to go beyond the classroom to explore the history of Pearl Harbor and the impacts of the atomic bombing in Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II. And our journey began on December 7th last year, 2023, the day of attack on Pearl Harbor. We attended 82nd Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day ceremony, and the title of this year was Legacy of Hope. So before visiting Nagasaki and Hiroshima, we visited the Japanese Cultural Center of Hawaii and the 100th Infantry Battalion Veterans Clubhouse. At the Japanese Cultural Center of Hawaii, we studied the history of Japanese ancestry and Issei pioneers in Hawaii, how they treasure their values, okage-sama de, and kansha, that you can see on the slides, the photo, which means appreciation and the depths of gratitude, and how they lived together, especially during the World War II. And there were internment camps in Hawaii, and over 2,000 people of Japanese ancestry, especially teachers, priests, community leaders, were sent to detention. Also, we visited the 100th Infantry Battalion Veterans Clubhouse, and it is the only infantry unit in the United States Army Reserve, composed mostly by Americans of Japanese ancestry, and fought intensively during the World War II. They became legendary, leading to German surrender in Europe, and our own United States Senator Spark Matsunaga and Daniel Inoue were part of this battalion. And at our 100th Infantry Battalion veteran, we saw a video explaining their history, and Senator Matsunaga mentioned that discrimination against the Japanese existed even before the Pearl Harbor attack by explaining the Immigration Act of 1924, the American law which says that Orientals could not become natural high citizens, also called the Oriental Exclusion Act of 1924, meaning if you were of Asian descent, regardless of how much you wanted to become an American citizen, regardless of how long you lived in the United States, you could not become a naturalized American citizen. Then 2 months after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the Executive Order 1966 was issued by the US president, leading to the incarceration of over 120,000 people of Japanese ancestry until the end of World War II. So we departed Hawaii on February 11, and from 12 to 17, 5 days, we visited Nagasaki and joined the youth conference. As you see the photos here, we visited the National Peace Memorial Hall for the atomic bomb victims, Atomic Bomb Museum, Hypocenter, and Peace Park. We had a tour guide, and they told us that we have a pledge to ensure that Nagasaki is the last place to experience nuclear detonation. Also, we found water and fountains in many places, and they say that it is to memorize the victims of nuclear bombing, since the victims wanted to drink water after the detonation of atomic bomb. Here, there's an inscription of girls' note saying that I was unbearably thirsty. I found water, but something greasy was floating all over it. I desperately wanted water, so I finally drank the water as it was. And we heard the experience of Hibakusha sharing that when the atomic bomb detonated, all people looked like monsters. Everybody was red, like a boiled tomato, and their skins were partially peeled or burned black because of the extreme heat. And during the youth conference, we discussed why can't we get rid of nuclear weapons, and what can we do to eliminate nuclear weapons. There were students from Malaysia, South Korea, United States, and local students in Nagasaki. And then we moved to Hiroshima from February 17th to 22nd, and we visited the Peace Culture Festival, AK University, and we had a virtual session with University of Hawaii titled Perspectives from World War II, Developing Cross-Cultural Understanding from Hiroshima to Hawaii. We also visited the Hypocenter, the Peace Memorial Park, and the Peace Memorial Museum. At the Peace Memorial Museum, we found Sadako Sasaki's section, where they explained the life story of Sadako and the paper cranes that she and her friends folded in Hiroshima. So last year, the group of University of Hawaii students and professors also visited Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And our Professor Brian Hallett from Matsunaga Institute for Peace presented his special talk titled Saving Lives and Ending the War. And he discussed that detonating 2 atomic bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki actually ended the war. Dr. Robert Jacob, a professor at the Hiroshima Peace Institute of Hiroshima City University, states in his book, titled Nuclear Bodies, that during the Cold War, there were more than 2,000 nuclear weapon tests. On average, there were over 45 tests per year between 1946 and 1991. Statistically, a nuclear weapon exploded every other day during 1962, the year with the most tests. We think of the Cold War as a period of time in which nuclear weapons were not used, but in reality, they were exploding continually. The tests began less than a year after the nuclear attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki and have been carried out on every continent except for South America and Antarctica. While never used directly against human beings since Nagasaki, these tests have profoundly affected communities around the world. So the people who live in all of these communities are called the Global Hibakusha. The Hibakusha is a Japanese word that refers to those who survived the nuclear attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It literally means explosion affected person. But in recent years, Global Hibakusha is being used to signify all who have suffered the radiological effects of nuclear technologies since 1945. So along with the communities, another cohort of Global Hibakusha is military personnel who are routinely exposed to radiation during atmospheric nuclear tests. The United States and the Soviet Union, the two most prolific producers and testers of nuclear weapons, each exposed hundreds of thousands of their own troops to nuclear weapons and to radiation. Both conducted single tests in which over 40,000 soldiers participated. So the Soviet Union began testing in East Kazakhstan, then in the European Arctic. The British tested in Australia, and also in Nevada. The French tested in Algeria and then French Polynesia. The Chinese tested in Lop Nor in northwest China. India, Pakistan, and North Korea all tested within their national borders. All populations were not exposed to large bursts of gamma radiation from nuclear detonations, but millions of people were exposed to radioactive fallout, and we do not have a medical model to determine what the health outcomes and mortality would be. So yeah, I would like to talk about the Marshall Islands. The U.S. Successfully tested its largest nuclear weapon on Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands, the first deliverable hydrogen bomb in 1954. You see on the slide the photo that Marshall Islands locates in the Pacific on the left side. The Bravo test was 1,000 times larger than the weapons used in the nuclear attacks on Japan. The Japanese tuna boat, you see the boat, the picture, Daigo Fukuryu-maru, was sailing over 100 kilometers downwind from Bikini Atoll and exposed to the nuclear radiation on the day. When the boat arrived back in Japan 2 weeks later, the entire crew was hospitalized with radiation sickness. Local citizens were forcibly removed from their homes because of contamination. They needed to abandon their property and belongings, live in temporary housing, be resettled as refugees in new communities, or be returned to their former homes after sloppy remediation. So yes, so you see the Bikini Atoll, the photo on the middle of the photos at the middle, and then also we would like to mention that climate change is a serious issue here because the Army put all radioactive waste under the dome, but because of the sea level rising due to climate change, it started leaking. So we can see how the environmental issues are related to or connected to nuclear weapons. And here also in Kazakhstan, so Soviet Union tested in Semipalatinsk, also known as Polygon in Kazakhstan, between 1949 and 1989, about over 40 years. They conducted more than 400 nuclear tests at Semipalatinsk with little regard for their efforts on the local people or environment. The full impact of radiation exposure was hidden for many years by Soviet authorities. However, 1.5 million people were exposed to fallout over the years. The anti-nuclear movement, Nevada Semipalatinsk, was formed in 1989, which was one of the first major anti-nuclear movements in the former Soviet Union. It attracted thousands of people to its protests and campaigns, so that eventually led to the closure of the nuclear test site in 1991. Yes, so Kazakhstan locates under Russia, as you see the map, and Semipalatinsk, it locates in east-north side of Kazakhstan. And you see on the left side top the crater. This is the crater from a nuclear test, and it had a huge effect on local residents. And because they didn't know about the testing, many babies were born with a birth defect. And on the right side, you see the monument. It's called Stronger Than Death, a memorial to the victims of nuclear tests at this site. So during this trip, we discussed a lot, and then like overall understanding these tests happening. Do you think, is it safe to have nuclear weapons? Can nuclear weapons save our planet or people? And I felt that the current security, what I started to think about, rethink about what security means. And maybe current security too much focuses on economic profits and politics instead of real human security and peace. And also another point that we discussed in Nagasaki was the average age of Hibakusha is over 85. And now, like, who will continue to voice Hibakusha's stories? This was the director of Peace Memorial Hall in Nagasaki asked us this question, and then and then as a part of young generation, we would like to continue to think about the answer to this question. And then the third point, I would like to say that we have the concept of victim versus perpetrator. For example, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. So at Pearl Harbor, perpetrator is Japanese army and victims are the US. And then, but in Japan, the US dropped the nuclear weapons. So victims were like citizens of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And we say no more Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And then, but in the US, we say remember Pearl Harbor. So this is kind of parallel discussion and difficult to reach the kind of understanding each other. And so I also like to mention that so kind of through this journey I started to think that it's very important to have the kind of global citizen mindset. And then global citizen mindset is not only like speaking several languages or visiting like different countries, but more of like having the wider capacity to understand different perspectives. And in Hiroshima, there is a memorial inscribed memorial stone, and the English translation is let all the souls here rest in peace, for we shall not repeat the evil. So it became controversial when a delegate from India questioned the subject "we" here in "we shall not repeat the evil." he said that it is clear that we was referring to the Japanese, and yet the Japanese were not solely responsible for the war and did not drop the atomic bomb. His comments led to controversy over the inscription. But in Hiroshima, definitely they had discussion, and many people understood we here as human beings. The Japanese too must vow never to repeat the evils of war and nuclear weapons. So and then when I met when I was in Hiroshima and met Hibakusha, and in Nagasaki too, they were telling their stories, not only telling the misery of nuclear weapons, but also like they really do not want to this misery to happen again to anyone in this world, not only Japanese, but anyone in any countries. So I feel that this perspective of understanding like not only Hiroshima or Nagasaki or Japan's perspective, but like understanding the perspectives from the US, Pearl Harbor, and and also like Kazakhstan, Marshall Islands, like these like understanding the facts and like different perspectives are very important to build peace in the future. So here I quickly would like to explain for the global efforts for the nuclear disarmament. So in 1968, Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty (NPT) was signed and entered into force in 1970. But as you see, the nuclear tests around the world continued. And then to make the nuclear weapons illegal for all countries, the United Nations Conference adopted the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, TPNW. TPNW includes a comprehensive set of prohibition on participating in any nuclear weapon activities that include undertaking not to develop, test, produce, acquire, possess, stockpile, use, or threaten to use nuclear weapons. So yeah, this is the TPNW is a major step toward abolishing nuclear weapons, and many civil societies, organizations, NGOs, researchers continue making efforts to strengthen the global solidarity toward disarmament. And in Japan, just last month, in March 24, some 70,000 youth gathered for the Future Action Festival on nuclear abolition and climate crisis in Tokyo, sharing a commitment to the creation of a peaceful and sustainable future. 28 partners and supporting organizations cooperated in the preparation of the festival. And my two nieces, 13 years old and 11 years old, they also participated this festival. And before the festival, the organizers distributed survey on nuclear abolition and climate crisis before crisis. And some 120,000 people across Japan under 40 years old answered the questionnaire. And here is one of the questionnaire. So the question, and then I worked on a tentative translation in the blue color in English. So one of the question was, do you think nuclear weapons are necessary? And more than 80% of youth answered no. On the right side, you see the bar graphs showing the answer of teenagers, 20s, 30s, and 40s, breakdown of on age. And then the second question, there are several questions, and then I picked three. And then the second one was are you taking any actions on climate change issues or aware of them? And about 50% answered that they are aware but not taking any actions. 24% answered not aware of them, and yes for about 18%. And And also the other question was overall, to what extent do you think the voices of young people are reflected in national and local government policies? And more than 56% answered rarely reflected. 24% said not reflected at all. And somehow reflected 18%, and well reflected 1.9%. And I think this survey was really interesting and also very powerful data. And I think that maybe it's interesting to see like how the US in the US or any other countries answer to these questions. For example, do you think nuclear weapons are necessary? And then like how many youth answer yes or no. So yeah, I wanted to share with you all. And also, so again, what's your opinions on nuclear weapons? Why can't we get rid of nuclear weapons? What can we do to eliminate nuclear weapons? And how can we continue to voice Hibakusha's story? Yeah, so yeah, I would appreciate if you, I couldn't see chat, but I would appreciate if you can share your comments or thoughts, and if you have any questions, please share it with me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yumi, for that just showcase of not only your own experience, what you've learned, as well as just speaking out about the stories that I'm hoping our audience they're also coming along and learning with us. And yeah, just to reiterate, if there's what I love about these gatherings is that we get to learn from each other. So please feel free to post in the chat, and happy to have further conversation about that. And if you have any questions specifically for Yumi today, we can definitely engage in those conversations. But I guess just to get started with a couple of questions I have initially, if you don't mind, could you um, how did this experience? I know you shared a little bit what you learned. You talked about how important it is to learn about different perspectives, but I would love to learn how did this experience itself shift your own perspective into your understanding of World War II? If you could just share a little bit about, what came out of it. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I think when I first or like second time met you, and then like I'm very like my interest of research is nuclear disarmament. And then like you mentioned that definitely hibakushas are not only in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and then like you mentioned about Marshall Islands and other places. And when I was in like, for example, like at schools, like high schools, when I was in high school or college students, I didn't really know like nuclear testing happening all over the place, and it's really shocking. And then like I knew some, but after coming to Hawaii, like I could more working on research on what is actually happening. And I think we study about the history at schools, but these are kind of facts. And then like which year and date, like what atomic bomb detonated. And then, we learned about Pearl Harbor as well, but actually, go beyond the classroom, like visiting the here, and then learning, discussing with local people, and then understanding the different perspectives definitely broaden my understanding of World War II, and also power dynamics among the nations.
Thank you. Thank you. So thank you so much for offering that insight. And I think in my own experience, having gone on this journey with the students last year, I think one of the things I took away from it was just you touched the power dynamics, and how a lot of many times we learn and are guided in history books by what's decided at the top, and there's a lot of stories that get lost in the mix, unfortunately. So thank you for bringing some of those stories to the limelight. So thank you for also prefacing some of the images that you shared earlier, and just how, there's some graphic images and so forth. I wanted to just follow up a little bit on that, and just for folks who want to continue on in this journey or may come upon this journey in some capacity, how do you make sure to have like the mental space and energy to hear the stories and process the experiences you've had over the past few months? Just, any words of wisdom to share on that aspect?
Um, yeah, I think it's I think I would say the Hibakusha story is so powerful, and then definitely it's like we have like the different like we have the books of like the collection of voices from Japan, for example, Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and then but like some researchers focus on like Marshall Islands, and some researchers like in Kazakhstan, definitely, but they collect those information, and then as next year marks 80 year of detonation of atomic bombing. I feel that it's great to create a global solidarity, and then like maybe like definitely like exchange of information as well, but also like compiling the global hibakusha stories. And then like I think it would be great for like especially young people, like for example like high school students, or to learn about these what happened in the past. So yeah, if I were high school students, definitely wanted to read. And yeah, and also I also would like to say that I met several friends in Europe and like in the US, and then like they definitely like traveled to Japan and visited like Hiroshima museums to learn about um learn about the detonation of atomic bombing. But after that, definitely it's really shocking experience, especially for first time visitor. And then after coming back to their home country, some of them had mental breakdown. And I hear that it's really, I mean, like even for me, like I visited several times to Hiroshima, but yeah, it's kind of like I should be prepared before visiting museum. So I think that it would be great, like if we can like if maybe museum or like the local NGO or the city, the government provides some kind of like mental health, like mental toolkit or something for all visitors or like learners of the history of World War II, because even for me, like as an adult, it's really hard sometimes to, and then like need to think about self-care and mental health. So
Well, thank you. One thing that just kind of just to add on to that, in one experience I had was to add on, yes, the mental health resources are so essential. One thing that I've really enjoyed is got to take a couple years back a trip, and we were able to have facilitators actually have facilitated conversation to just process what we had experienced. So that just another little tool just wanted to share out there. One of the questions, and we have some questions coming in from the audience. So Auntie Maya has, thank you for offering so much context and information. You deepen the audience understanding. So what is next for you, Yumi, in this work? Will this continue to be a part of your life's path and purpose?
yes, definitely. I would like to make it as a life work. So not only at UH Manoa, but definitely even after my like 40, 50s, 60s, I would like to continue working on this research. And also, yeah, like it's already at University of Hawaii, they have developed, this program, and professors visited Hawaii and Hiroshima so many times. And we have, after coming back from Japan trip, we joined the Sadako Peace Project, We visited Pearl Harbor and folded crane, and then like teach how to fold cranes for visitors to visitors of Pearl Harbor, and then like sharing the story of Sadako Sasaki. And also we had Hawaii Hiroshima Peace Forum, and also so we had the local high students in Hawaii. They presented on World War II, the history, and then also some of them are visiting Hiroshima. And then like we welcomed Hiroshima high school students to to Pearl Harbor, so to Hawaii. And then we had an amazing exchange in Hawaii, and yeah, so and then also we joined the Legacy to Action project, the 100th Infantry Battalion Veterans Clubhouse hosted this project, which is finding the problems happening in Hawaii, and implement the project, and then how did it, like sharing what the project was, and then how did it go. And then so I think this even from high school students to university students, we joined this Legacy to Action project, and then presented just last week. And yeah, we have so many great community engagement here in Hawaii, and I really want that this kind of interaction continues.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And anyone in the audience, if you have additional questions, please feel free to share. We are getting a lot of wonderful resources, though, of just some other wonderful collaboratives and initiatives that our community has. So I just want to take some time to kind of spotlight those. Specifically relevant to today's topic, a traveling exhibition, Himayuri, and I apologize if I've mispronounced anything, in Hawaii, but the Himayuri Peace Museum in Okinawa is currently on display at the Hamilton Library right here at the University of Hawaii through June. It covers the Battle of Okinawa and the mobilization of the Himayuri student corps made up of school-age girls during the war and connections in Hawaii. More information can be found at the links, and I'll add these links later on in the recording to the summary. And then somebody mentioned that their center is working on the forum on the disarmament education next week. And this is from the Ikeda Center for Peace, Learning, and Dialogue in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So thank you so much for joining us. And so they are next week and working with some high school students doing great work on nuclear disarmament advocacy. So thank you for the work you're doing. Additionally, thank you, Yumi, for your presentation. And somebody else here has been working on designing and creating anti-nuclear weapon exhibit for Haidankyo, the only hibakusha organization in Japan at the United Nations since 2004, and they have some more resources there. It's just, this is amazing. Thank you so much. And then let's see. Oh, we have another one here. Details for an in-person forum at the Ikeda Center that's hosting. Additionally, I just wanted to share briefly for folks in the community. We actually will be having an exhibit on Sadako Sasaki in 2025. So it's still some time away. It'll be at the Hamilton Bridge Gallery right here at the University of Hawaii from August 1st to October 31st. So if anyone's interested in collaborating in some way, virtually or locally in person, please feel free to reach out. Always happy to, build the community and create more awareness. But circling back, gave Yumi some time to relax from talking. So I'll go back to my questions now. So thank you so much for sharing about the Sadako Peace Projects, which just to the Japan America Society of Hawaii is kind of spearheading that in collaboration with the Pacific Historic Parks Organization over at Pearl Harbor Visitor Center. The Hawaii Peace Forum was also organized by Josh, and then the Legacy to Action being the 100 Infantry Battalion, as well as the Center for Aging here at UH, and Central Pacific Bank is also a co-sponsor in that. So it's always wonderful to kind of see how the community comes together. And as you kind of look a little deeper into the organizations, such as, so Central Pacific Bank was actually established by one of the veterans for the 100 Infantry, one of the Nisei veterans. So there's a plethora of connections that we can make the more we start learning about the history here. If you could share a little bit, Yumi, about can you speak more about your insights that you've had about peace, perhaps as a bridge toward friendship, international people-to-people diplomacy, or inclusion? I mean, you kind of talked about this a little bit, but just wondering if you have some additional words of wisdom that we can learn from.
Yeah, thank you so much. Definitely, peace is not the absence of war, but like it's the constructive efforts that we do, and also, I'm not sure if the Professor Catherine Lee, who graduated at the College of Education and also Matsunaga Institute for Peace, she always say that the peace starts within you. And so like definitely it's not about it's definitely we tend to think about like politics and also even nuclear weapons. Like we don't really see, and then the actual photos that we see of atomic bombing was like fat man and little boy, but which is over 80 years ago. And then I'm pretty sure that the current nuclear weapons looks different, and then like it's more smaller or like maybe laser type. I'm not sure, but so we don't really. It's kind of difficult. Like sometimes we feel powerless when we think about peace, and then but it's actually I think that peace is something that each person can create in their environment, and also definitely starts from each person's heart. So definitely, yeah, like meditate first, and then, or like self-care. It's very important to have the stable mind, or like to not bother others, or like to not harm others. It's just to like create peace within yourself, and then start having relationship with others.
Thank you so much, Yumi. And we have some additional wonderful comments from our audience. Thanks so much for joining us. As I mentioned earlier, this event, the recording will end up on the Peacebuilding Initiative's YouTube channel, so you can definitely catch if you happen to miss any parts of it. Someone mentioned how the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists has set the 2024 doomsday clock at 90 seconds. The threat is imminent. I don't understand why this threat is not at the forefront of the global conversation. Does anyone here have any insights? I guess since Yumi's here, I'm just wondering if you have any insights yourself.
Actually, at Nagasaki, the professor mentioned about this clock, and then yeah, it's this year, 90 seconds. Yeah, we don't know. It's not at the forefront of the global conversation. Yeah, I'm not sure like is anyone in the audience knows or.
Well, thank you. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to add them to the chat. We have about 15 minutes still left. I did want to get to some questions I had in advance, but oh, you mentioned that you had gotten invited to an environmental peace building course here at the University of Hawaii that one of our instructors, Wiwi Darmisia, teaches. Could you share a little further about that and what you may have learned from that experience and what you shared with the students?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, so I was invited to the class, and then when we had a discussion, then definitely yeah, we discussed why we cannot get rid of nuclear weapons, and then um when we were talking about nuclear weapons, then again it's difficult to know like what is happening, and then we started to discuss on the gun violence, because the gun definitely in the US, like everyone can get it, and even like teenagers, I mean like it's not gun, but can buy like any like chemicals on the internet and like create some kind of bombs easily. And then what they told me, like honestly, was like they think that it's definitely we don't definitely eliminate the guns definitely. And then but the point is that the gun itself is not the problem, but the heart is the problem. And then he again also mentioned about the mental health issues. And then but definitely to listen to why this happened, like the gun violence, and then like learning about the person like who used the gun and also the environment. And yes, and then so we discussed gun violence as well. And also 2018 in Hawaii, we had nuclear alert. And I wasn't here in Hawaii, but some students were here. And it was really, they shared that it was really a frightening experience that they ever had. And some of them shared that they were not sure like where to evacuate. And then also some of them told me that some of them are high school students at the time. So like they visited Pearl Harbor and then they were on the boat actually to the Missouri. And then they received the alert, nuclear alert on that day. And then like it was really, yeah, they shared that it was really shocking. And then yeah, definitely as yeah, Professor Garrison mentioned in the chat, it's like 90 seconds. Yeah, if we receive a lot, then after several seconds, we might have the nuclear yeah, nuclear bombing happening anywhere in the world. So yeah, I think it's really really an issue that everyone should think about right now, like start thinking right now, and then everyone should be involved in this disarmament yeah, efforts.
Thank you so much for your work and continuing to pursue your passions. I know it's and I know there's a lot of topics we've covered today, and there's I know a lot of perspectives we also weren't able to have time to get into. And I think part of it's just like it's been a process of getting to know and learn about them and kind of bringing them together. So thank you to the community that's been able to bring those to the forefront. So if there's other folks that, you know, have ideas to share, please let us know. Happy to connect. Some additional questions I kind of had. Just, I mean, some of them have been touched upon already. One that I always love to ask that you've kind of alluded to, but one that I've actually started asking recently, I always love the reflective piece, the introspection piece. I think it's a wonderful practice for all of us to share, just kind of, but also, you know, what would Yumi say to her younger self if you had words of wisdom for your younger self?
Younger self, it was when I actually this February when we visited Nagasaki and Hiroshima, we met, you know, the college students and the young people. And actually one of the things that the most of the time I spent was like they asked me like kind of like what kind of path or like career advice that they asked me. And then like it was so like interesting because they're so like eager to learn different cultures, and then some of them actually studied abroad, but definitely not everyone had yeah, they're planning to go again, or like they want to work for the for like, for example, like international cooperation agencies, but like what would be the choice that they should make right now. And yeah, definitely yeah, I would say that yeah, I told him that like just yeah, like try doing your best, but just being as you are is so important. And then like just yeah, being And yeah, yes, just try everything. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And I commend you on, your openness to kind of go on this journey, wherever it kind of went. And yeah, I think you bring up some good, they're asking you the students over there, and I think that's one of the talks we sometimes have with you never know who you're like role models, whether we want to or not. We're providing mentorship, whether we choose to or not. So you never really quite know who might be observing. And so it's been a wonderful journey to kind of connect with folks and the idea that it doesn't have to be age related, you could be a role model to someone who's older than you. It's all about life experiences and the things that we can share with each other and how can we uplift each other's voices really in this journey of life. So thank you for doing that. So one thing, one of my last questions, and I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, was so Yumi is part of the grad certificate in conflict resolution at the Matsunaga Institute for Peace. Part of the requirements is doing a practicum or an internship. So Professor Dr. Maya Satoru happens to be the faculty for that, and it's part of their the practicum. They have to have a practicum site supervisor, and that's where I come on board. And so that was part of her journey going into this experiential program that I developed. And so, with that in mind, I wonder if you have any words of wisdom for future practicum students. I don't know if it's going to be like you should try everything similar to your younger self, or you have other things just from an academic perspective, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, also I think I mentioned to anyone like actually at UH too, like at the University of Hawaii as well, but like to like meeting with a great professor or like great mentors, really kind of it's really rare. So like if you find anyone, like just stick and then like take classes of the professor as much as possible, and then I mean it's really amazing. Yeah, definitely relationship matters. And then as Jose always say, like positive, healthy relationship, developing the positive, healthy relationship is very important. And then at Matsunaga Peace Institute, definitely we learn about that. And then also not only in the classroom, but also definitely outside the classroom. Definitely, yeah, like Professor Maya. Setter, she's really available anytime, like and then so just we can they are available and we can reach them at any time. So I really appreciate their capacity of like to like welcoming us and like sharing their thoughts and giving us guidance. And yeah, definitely. And then for the practicum, yeah, not, like me, I joined this trip, but some people develop their own practicum plans. And for example, yeah, like Jasmine, like she joined today and gave us the comment on chat. But like I think she developed her plan, and then like she will be doing talk story, and also she already did with the last with Alex at the radio. I think she joined the radio show. And also like she's really she's from yeah, she was interested in social justice issue. And so and then when we tell our plan to professors, they always say they never say no, like they say yes. And then like how can we develop together? So definitely I recommend everyone to take practicum, and also like classes for classes at Matsunaga Peace Institute.
Well, thank you for that free advertising for the office. We're always happy to support the office, and it's 30, almost 40 years it's been around now in some capacity. So I'm always wonderful to connect with folks. Well, we have only a couple minutes. I don't know if there's any additional questions from the audience. If not, I do want to just thank you for your thoughtfulness, compassion, empathy that you gave as you engaged in the Perspectives of World War II program these past few months, 5, almost 6 months now. So almost you spent half a year doing this. So thank you. I very much appreciated your curiosity to learn more about those untold stories. And I do hope to keep those stories alive. You keep those stories alive by sharing them with others. Thank you for sharing that presentation that at the end where you talked about the survey that was given to uh, folks in Japan. I think you said it was over 1,000 folks or so that took it. But it always made me wonder. I was like, what if we recreated that survey to other places around the world? I would love to be able to get those voices because, we end up seeing the actions that our countries or leaders end up making, and I would love to make a comparison. How aligned are they truly with the voices of the people? And I wouldn't be surprised if they're not. And so maybe that's the research side in me, just exploring ways to elevate the voices of the communities. So there's a project out there if anyone's listening. But thank you. Thank you for all you do. And this is truly how we can make sure, we don't repeat history, because that's really what, that's by educating others about the stories of the oppressed. And so thank you yourself as an educator, as one educator to the other, as a peace builder to the other. Thank you for all the work you do. Thank you for joining us today. Um, Thank you all for joining us in the audience today to support this collaboration as well.